Hello, everybody, and welcome to season 9 of the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, where I interview founders, entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, amazing people all around the world of crypto and blockchain. And today I have another amazing guest. He is the founder and CEO of Electron. His name is Garvit Goel. Garvit, welcome to the show.
Many thanks for having me, Jamil. It's nice to be here.
Happy to have you here. I'm excited to learn all about what you're doing. But let's kick things off. Before we get into Electron, and I want to definitely do that. I want to find out first. What is your background, and is it a logical background for what you're doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in India, and that's where I live right now. And I studied chemical engineering in college, and I've been interested in finance ever since college. Had a chance to spend some time at Nomura Investment Banking in Mumbai. I don't know if you know, Nomura is like one of the biggest banks in Japan, and they acquired Lehman Brothers when it collapsed. So the Asia division basically. So I had a chance to spend some time there in college, and that's where I got into finance. And towards the end of my graduation, which was in 2017, I wanted to do something in finance, but it wasn't exactly clear what's the right way to get into this industry because it was so dominated by existing large banks, etc. I came across blockchain, and it just seems that okay, this could be my entry point into the world of finance. So that's how I got into crypto.
In 2017.
Yes, that was like, the first time I sort of got into crypto, spent some time in it, got out of crypto for a while, then got back into crypto again in 2022. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I'm going to ask you about that a little bit later because India has been known to be the hotbed, or was historically the hotbed of crypto. So the entry point at 20, that intrigues me. Actually, let me ask you, what was it like to get into at that time, knowing that it was a hotbed in India?
I mean, it was much more scammy than it is now. Now we have stable coins and all sorts of logical things that make sense to even normal people. But in 2017, this was probably one of those first. If you remember the bull market of 2017, I think it was the craziest one ever. 2021 was super cool, but 2017 is like the real definition of craziness in crypto. So I had a chance to see that upfront. And even in India, like everyone was just trying to figure out a way to launch their own scammy token. And we saw that unfold right in front of us. Uh, yeah, I mean, same as the rest of the crypto. We just saw it right unfold right in front of us.
Yeah. So I'm glad you're building something meaningful today. Electron. What is Electron all about, including your vision and your mission?
Sure. So I think there are sort of two parallel goals that we have, right? So one of them is what Electron is mostly known for, which is building out that core tech pieces, mostly on the cryptography side that go into powering all of this. So zero knowledge proofs is what we started out with, which is now a little bit of an outdated technology. It has transformed into something called as TEEs, or trusted execution environments, which is what we are spending a lot of our time on right now, sort of like building those core tools that can power a lot of RWA, stablecoins, privacy technology, and all of that. So that's like sort of one pillar of what Electron is. The second part is very much a capital markets approach. At the end of the day, crypto is not a technology space; it's a finance space. Uh, so we are like building out liquidity layers, uh, and just building out those core pieces of marrying liquidity with that technology, so that we can bring products to market. Yeah, it's a bit abstract in the way I've explained it, but happy to explain more deeper as we go along.
I do want to go deeper into TEEs. I do want to. Well, you said something that goes against what everybody else says. everybody talks about price, but are you in it for the tech? They ask people, are you in it for? And you just came around and said, crypto is not a technology. It's not a technology space. It is a finance space. How is it? How is it not a technology space? And why is it a finance space instead?
Yeah, I mean, see, at the end of the day, the customer is using crypto or will be using crypto to move capital around. That makes it a finance space, right? All the use cases, everything. See, no customer chooses to use crypto because of the technology pieces, but like sort of the capital markets and the financial features of it, and that's why, from a customer standpoint, from a standpoint of what this technology does for the world, it's very much a capital markets slash finance space. Technology is just an enabler in this bigger picture. Yeah.
That should make sense to me. So when people say they're in it for the tech, they're not being fully authentic. So, um, very cool. So let's talk about the trusted execution environments. How is it improvement from ZKs? Because if I talk to all the Ethereum developers I've talked to over the years, they're going to say that ZKs is the next $1 trillion opportunity. So why is TE an advancement, evolution?
No, I mean, first of all, if you ask me, ZK is sort of dead at this point as a technology. We spend a lot of time on it. A lot of very smart folks spend a lot of money and time on it. And the problems that were realized were, well, first of all, even after so much research, it's still a very slow piece of technology. If you try to build anything with it, it's going to be super slow, super inefficient, super costly because of the underlying infrastructure. At the same time, there are so many good alternatives that are available. The best one being, of course, TEEs that can do everything that ZK does and then some. And it can do that with in a much faster, much more cost efficient way, that it just doesn't make sense to use zero knowledge proofs anymore. One of the reasons ZK became popular, in my opinion, is because if you go back to 2, 3 years ago, the whole decentralization narrative and security and permissionlessness was super strong. And we all believed in crypto that that has to be like the core pillar around which this whole thing is built. It is still true, but we have generally realized that we don't need to go to extreme lengths to achieve that. Uh, Hyperliquid, like according to Ethereum standards, is super centralized, but it still works great as a DEX, right? So the definition of sufficiently decentralized or permissionless has changed over time, and the extreme level of decentralization that ZK was bringing is not exactly required anymore. Uh, and once you remove that constraint, then TEEs become a very good solution, where it offers you everything that you want that ZK might do without all the complexities, etc. So that's the largest story why TEEs is way better than ZK and ZK is dead. You know.
So you're able to aggregate proofs from multiple sources to allow cost cutting for everyone. So how do you get the aggregation proofs from multiple places?
Yeah. So again, this is one of those products that was required because ZK was so expensive. Okay. I mean, this product, again, we're not promoting this so much anymore because, as I said, ZK itself is dead. But the idea behind this product was that uh, it's like having a bus service, right? That uh, rather than everyone sort of spending all the money to verify these ZK proofs, which was extremely costly. And if we had scaled Ethereum using or any other blockchain using zero knowledge proofs, we would be spending at least $10 billion every year just on ZK proofs, as the cost of infrastructure. Uh, and the way we were solving this was that, like, we were coming up with this mechanism where everyone does not have to verify their own proofs. You can just aggregate from a bunch of people, like the cost gets amortized. So rather than 1,000 people paying for their own ZK proof verification and generation, they would all aggregate their proofs, and just all these 1,000 people together have to pay just for one person effectively. So the cost would essentially get slashed by a factor of 1,000. And if there were 10,000 people generating proofs, the cost would get slashed by a factor of 10,000. Uh, so again, like a bus service as opposed to, having a car. But yeah, I mean, since Zk itself didn't scale, like we didn't see the point of carrying on with this particular product.
All right, so let's talk about a different product, a new product. Let's talk about your Bitcoin bridge, right? What does your Bitcoin bridge enable, and why is this Bitcoin bridge is it permute
Yes.
necessary? Why is it necessary in the evolution of decentralized finance?
Yes. So again, going back to the idea of being a capital markets or a finance company. So if you follow from that perspective, we all want that Bitcoin becomes the reserve asset of the world. It's on the way to see that happen. And what we noticed is that if you talk about the swap space, on-chain bridging or on-chain swaps in the DeFi space, these things are very efficient if you talk about Ethereum or Solana and all of these developer-centric chains, because a lot of infrastructure and liquidity has been built around the segment. But if you talk about Bitcoin, which is the largest asset by far, and if you talk about simple swaps of, let's say, Bitcoin with stable coins on Ethereum or Solana, the fees is actually super high. You people are paying like 1% for making swaps that are worth $5 million. It's crazy. Like no one would believe this unless we actually show them the on-chain data, but it's there. People are paying 1% to make swaps of 1 Bitcoin, 5 Bitcoin, like, which is crazy, like 1% on a swap of this size. So our focus has been, okay, can we build an on-chain layer where swapping with Bitcoin and other assets is very efficient. It should match the pricing that centralized exchanges offer. So this product is built to offer that service. At the same time, the reason we built this product as Electron is because using RTE technology, we were very uniquely positioned to be able to build a product that can offer this kind of fees. So our TE infrastructure that we've developed is very core to us being able to offer this kind of fees and efficient liquidity routes. Yeah, that's kind of the larger picture here.
Got it. Well, the larger picture, yeah, I see a lot of people say that Bitcoin is the future of DeFi, and I'm thinking, from a DeFi perspective, I don't think of Bitcoin. I think of Aave. I think of Chainlink. I think of different, I don't think of Bitcoin. But why can Bitcoin? What will be Bitcoin's role in the future of DeFi, and can Bitcoin be the primary DeFi chain?
Yeah, so this is a great point. So Bitcoin is not the future of DeFi because Bitcoin is already the present of DeFi. If you actually look into Aave and you look at the most, like in terms of TVL, the biggest asset, that's actually Bitcoin, the wrapped version of Bitcoin, WBTC. So when people think of Aave, people just assume Ethereum and all of that. But the biggest asset which is being used as collateral on Aave and Compound and these lending protocols is actually the wrapped version of Bitcoin by far, right? So it's already being used at a massive scale uh, on DeFi, on Ethereum. And when we talk to these newer upcoming chains, uh, and they are trying to bootstrap their own DeFi ecosystem, one of their biggest demands is actually how can we bring a wrapped version of Bitcoin on their chain. Uh, so this is already true. Like, yeah.
So Bitcoin is the I would say it's the primary currency, right, on DeFi. But how about the network? How about the infrastructure? How do you think that can be improved so that people can do DeFi on the Bitcoin network?
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me, but the Bitcoin chain itself is let's not touch it, right? It just works, and it's incredibly hard to coordinate any upgrades to Bitcoin. I think in the next, let's say 50 years, the only upgrade that Bitcoin chain needs to make is when quantum computing comes in. Quantum computing will break the cryptography that is underlying to Bitcoin. So we will need to upgrade that cryptography at some point of time to make it quantum resistant. So whenever that happens in the next 50 years, that's the only upgrade that the Bitcoin chain needs to go through in order to continue to serve the function that Bitcoin is supposed to serve in the world. There are so many other chains that are able to bridge Bitcoin to them and offer these DeFi services that, in my opinion, we can just live with that. Like, making changes to the Bitcoin chain is going to be very hard, very impractical. So let's just live with Solanas and Ethereums and Trons of the world, which bridge Bitcoin to their chain and they lets us do whatever we need to do. We need to probably improve those systems that enable bridging to these chains. But in my opinion, let's not touch the Bitcoin chain itself. It's, you know, just too cumbersome.
I think I agree with you. I think I've been saying that for a while. No one's listened. You know, how do we like you didn't used to be able to to transfer Bitcoin and Ethereum and Bitcoin and Solana. And you have to go through multiple steps in order to do it. You can't do it in one place, right? How can we be able to do it in one place? How do you think what needs to be invented or created or implemented in order to do that?
This is a very good question, and this is something we've been also thinking about a lot at Electron. Uh, the thing is that the demand for on-chain Bitcoin is not exactly growing, right? Uh, I mean, DeFi is growing at a certain rate, and that's driving the demand for Bitcoin uh, on these DeFi chains. But Bitcoin itself is a very large asset, and we have only around $12 billion or $15 billion worth of it, which has been bridged to these other chains for DeFi, which is like a very minuscule percentage. Uh, so we definitely need to ask how to increase that percentage. We discussed it often at Electron. We don't have a solution yet. But I think as the utility of DeFi on other chains grow, we will anyway see more Bitcoin being bridged uh, to these chains. Um, yeah, that's my take on it. Yeah, I mean, I wish there was more to this. I feel very incomplete to give this answer, but this is all I have right now. I mean, yeah, there's a lot going on in the centralized side of things in the CeFi space. A lot of Bitcoin borrowing and lending is going on, and slowly that percentage is moving on chain, but it's kind of slow and again a very minuscule percentage as compared to the overall market capitalization of Bitcoin, which is in several trillions, while the on-chain supply of Bitcoin on these other chains is just 15 billion, like Ethereum and all of these.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about it, but don't have the answer yet. The answer was, whoever has the answer is good. It's gonna be like the next tether, you know. Um,
Absolutely. There's an opportunity to make a circle or a tether for the Bitcoin pegged asset. So
so you said two words together that scares some people. You said quantum computing, right? How how will quantum computing, I tell people all the time, there's no way that you can break the Bitcoin blockchain. I mean, it's going to like Easter Island. There's no way to get rid of those statues that are over there. There's no way to break the Bitcoin blockchain, but some people believe that quantum computing can. So how can it be done, and what evolution do you think needs to happen in the space of quantum resistant computing to make it not happen?
yeah, so let me give you a slightly I'll try to make it as non-technical as possible. So uh, there are in the world of cryptography, when you build these hash functions and digital signatures, there are some underlying mathematics that power these things. And these mathematics can be divided into two parts. One part is that when quantum computers are invented, that mathematics will still not be broken fundamentally. Uh, and you can continue to use that mathematics to power cryptography. Uh, so that's one. Second piece is cryptography or mathematics that will break once quantum computers are invented. Now, all these digital signatures or hash functions or whatever cryptographic primitives uh, that we use to make the world function or make the internet function, they can be built using both the mathematics, the one that breaks with quantum and the one that doesn't, right? So for everything, there is a quantum resistant version out there. It just tends to be a little slower and inefficient. So we try to use the non-quantum resistant version as much as possible, but we have to move to the quantum resistant version as quantum computers slowly start to become a reality, right? Now, when it comes to chains like Ethereum and Solana, which have shown capability to coordinate upgrades in the past, these chains will be able to upgrade from the mathematics that will break with quantum computing to the mathematics that is quantum resistant. So when the time comes, these chains will be able to make that upgrade, right? With Bitcoin, there are still some parts of the chain that are not quantum resistant, which will need to go through these upgrades when quantum computers are invented. The problem is that Bitcoin chain itself has shown extreme resistance to upgrades. So the question is, will they be able to coordinate in time to make that upgrade to make themselves quantum resistant? So that's sort of the concern here. Again, the problem is very much fixable because there is a quantum resistant version to everything. So when the time comes, Bitcoin will have the technical the underpinnings to go through that upgrade and get through the quantum threat. It's just the coordination piece that needs to happen in sufficient time that when that quantum computers are coming online, we make that upgrade in at a rate which is fast enough to survive that invention.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It took a while to coordinate Taproot, and it took a long time to coordinate Lightning. How do you coordinate quantum? How do you coordinate like that is a risk. How do you address that risk, and how do you think people can move to be able to do it? I mean, yeah, how what approach do you think we should take to be able to make upgrades on Bitcoin faster?
So I mean, as an investor, I mean, I feel that in a couple, let's say 10 years down the line, Bitcoin will be such an important asset that the moment there is any serious threat of, so the thing with quantum computers, it's not like they're gonna get invented overnight, that suddenly we wake up one day and we're like, okay, we need to coordinate upgrade today. It's not going to be like that. We're going to see quantum computers become more powerful over the years, and we will see that invention happen several years in advance, right? So we will have that chance, like we will see this thread build up on Twitter and people start taking this issue more and more seriously. Like 10 years ago, people would definitely not talk about this issue. But every now and then we do see some mention of this on Twitter. And over time, as quantum computers become more powerful, this threat will start to feel more and more real on Twitter and other these online town halls, maybe Reddit, and people will just start taking this more seriously. And I think at some point of time, the threat will be so massive that the community will come together for this upgrade, because like we won't have a choice. It's like it's one of those movies like Armageddon, where all the different races and countries of the world coordinate with each other because they have to, otherwise they're all going to die. So uh, I think something like that will happen. uh, yeah, we will be able to coordinate as a civilization to make that upgrade, in my opinion. We have to. We won't have a choice.
I This is my concern, and it might be legitimate, it might not. So I'm looking at 10 years ago. Bitcoin had like 95% people and 5% institutions at most, right? And now it's 70% people and 30% institutions. And 10 years from now might be 40% people and 60% institutions. So if there's 60% institutions, I'm concerned there might be institutional capture at that point because it breaks the 51% rule. And then it's whatever the institutions decide, right? But Bitcoin's supposed to be for freedom. So how do you get the word to these institutions to be on the side of the people? Like, how do you is that a concern at all, or should it be?
I think Bitcoin is bigger than these institutions, right? And it's going to be. It's already way too big, and it's going to be even more powerful. Uh, I look, I see all your concerns, and they're super valid. Like, how do you get BlackRock to to accept an upgrade? And the point is that this thing is just way too big, uh, for anyone to be like. I mean, that's the experiment, right? That if Bitcoin is not able to coordinate that upgrade because of institutions or whatever reason, Bitcoin dies. Uh, and then it would be a failed experiment. But uh, if it is able to go through that upgrade, and it will be just bigger than before, and it will have proven why Bitcoin is what it is. uh it's one of those things that our civilization scale, and uh will determine a lot about who we are as humanity. And uh we'll find out. I mean, it's a personal belief also, that I believe, like, it doesn't matter, Bitcoin is way too big, it will go through whatever upgrades it needs to. There are obviously risks, but I think they'll get figured out. But it's entirely possible they don't get figured out, and everything goes to shit. uh yeah.
I wouldn't bet against Bitcoin, but you said something really important. You said we will all come together as a global society, kind of like Armageddon, right? And Bitcoin to me is the hardest form of money ever created, even harder than gold. Sorry, Peter Schiff, but you're wrong a lot. you know, um, is it a technology space? Is it a finance space, or is it a social society humanity space?
Everything. I would say it's very fundamental. Like, uh I mean, for a second I could say that crypto as a industry is capital markets, but Bitcoin is different. Like, you can't say that. It's very fundamental to, I think, who we are as a civilization. And I would say all the three that you mentioned, and maybe a couple of things that you didn't mention. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. I would ask you what do you think those two things are that I didn't mention? You know,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what those things are, to be honest. I uh I just feel that, um look, if we were to, you've seen the movie Star Trek. uh
yeah.
so these guys keep visiting different galaxies, and they keep running into more advanced civilizations time to time. I mean, in that movie or show, they never talk about what sort of currency they have, but if they are going to have some form of currency, it has to be something like Bitcoin, or something that satisfies those constraints. Like, uh it just feels like the way money should exist, right? So yeah, man.
So I would ask you then, in the grand scheme of things, you're where do you see Electron making the best value, most valuable contribution to the space?
Yeah, so I think, as I said, Bitcoin is Bitcoin, but to make the entire ecosystem around it, to make Bitcoin useful, or stable coins or other assets, DeFi, etc., we think that trusted execution environments is one of the core pillars. How this needs to happen. So that's piece we are building. That's sort of our contribution to the space as large. At the same time, we are a business. We are not a non-profit or anything like that. And that's why we have this capital markets piece, which allows us to build liquidity systems along with these trusted execution environments. And together with liquidity and technology, we can build products. Uh, and products are what makes us a business. Permute Finance, the Bitcoin Bridge being the first one uh, in that journey, and that's how we sort of fit in the larger scheme of things.
I like it. I like the idea of products. I think it's time that we moved on from just talking about the chain to building useful products for people, right? So
Yeah.
that's really cool. So I want to thank you very much. This has been a great conversation. I have one last question for you. It's how can people find out more information about you, about Electron? How can they, start to use your products once you have them rolled out? How can they do that?
Yeah, so we have a strong online presence. You can find us on Twitter, Reddit, LinkedIn, Telegram. So if you just go online, type my name, Garvit, or you type Electron, or you type Permute, you will find us for sure. Our website is electron.dev and permute.finance. And I have a personal website, garvit.io, if you want to visit that. So you can find us pretty much on every platform. Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
absolutely. Yeah, it was great speaking.